What if the one man who holds your career in his hands also ignites a fire you swore you'd never feel again? Imagine trading boardroom battles for stolen kisses in the shadows, all while hiding a secret that could shatter everything: your job, your heart, and the life growing inside you. By the end of this tale, you'll gasp at the twist that forces a choice no woman should ever face: power or passion. Stick around because Elena's whispers will pull you in deeper than you ever imagined. Happy listening! Elena Thompson stared at the sleek glass conference table, her fingers tracing the edge of her untouched coffee mug. At 38, she was the queen of this corporate jungle. Senior marketing exec, sharp suits hugging her curves just right, shoulder-length brown waves pulled into a no-nonsense ponytail. But today, her mind wandered, not to quarterly reports, but to the faint nausea twisting her stomach. God, not now, she thought, pressing a hand to her abdomen. The test from last week burned in her memory. Positive. And Mark? He'd packed his bags 2 months ago, muttering about needing space after their endless fights. No calls, no texts, just her, alone, with this tiny heartbeat she hadn't asked for. The door swung open and Richard Hale strode in, all 6 feet of commanding presence. At 45, he was the firm's golden boy, CEO with a jawline that could cut glass and eyes like stormy seas. His salt and pepper hair was cropped short, his tailored shirt sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms honed from weekend hikes. "Morning, team," he said, voice as smooth as aged whiskey, settling into the head chair. His gaze flicked to Elena, lingering a beat too long. She felt it like a spark, igniting something reckless in her chest. As the meeting kicked off, Elena pitched her latest campaign: bold visuals, data-driven hooks that promised to skyrocket sales. Heads nodded, but it was Richard's approval she craved. "Brilliant, Elena," he murmured when she finished, leaning forward, elbows on the table. "You always know how to make things pulse." The word hung there, double-edged, and she caught the flicker in his eyes. Flirtation, or just her imagination, starved after Mark's cold exit? Afterward, as the room emptied, Richard lingered. "Walk with me?" he asked, casual, but his hand brushed her lower back as they headed to his office. The touch was electric, sending heat pooling low in her belly. "Stop it," she scolded herself inwardly. "You're pregnant, for Christ's sake, not some desperate intern." But loneliness clawed at her, sharp and insistent. In his office, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bustling city streets below, he poured them scotch, hers untouched. "You've been distant lately," he said, perching on the desk's edge, close enough she could smell his cologne, woodsy and warm. "Everything all right?" She forced a smile, heart pounding. "Just life, the usual chaos." Lies slipped out easy, but his proximity made her bold. "What about you? Ruling the world solo must get lonely up here." He chuckled, low and intimate, his knee grazing hers. "Sometimes. But then there's you, keeping me on my toes." The air thickened, charged. She should leave, but instead her hand found his tie, tugging lightly. "Prove it," she whispered, the words tumbling out before regret could catch them. His breath hitched, and in that suspended moment, he closed the gap, lips crashing against hers, hungry, demanding. Elena melted into it, fingers threading through his hair, the world narrowing to the taste of him, forbidden and fierce. "This is insane," her mind screamed, even as desire drowned out the whining. They broke apart, gasping, his forehead against hers. "Elena," he started, voice rough. But then his phone buzzed on the desk, the screen lighting up with his wife's name. Reality slammed back, cold and unforgiving. He pulled away, cursing under his breath, while Elena's hand instinctively protected her secret. What had she just unleashed? And how long before it all came crashing down? The elevator hummed downward, but Elena's pulse raced faster, replaying the kiss like a forbidden reel in her head. What the hell was that? She thought, cheeks flushing as she smoothed her blouse in the mirrored walls. Richard's office door had clicked shut behind her. His apology mumbled, "Timing's off, but damn," trailing into nothing. She wanted to hate herself for starting it, for craving that rush when her life was already a mess. Mark's absence echoed louder now. His last words, "You're too ambitious, Elle. It suffocates me," a ghost in her ear. And the baby? A tiny flutter, like a secret promise she wasn't sure she could keep alone. Back at her desk, amid stacks of mock-ups and glowing screens, her assistant Jamie, a bubbly 25-year-old with a pixie cut, leaned in. Boss man seemed extra intense today. Spill. Jamie's eyes sparkled with gossip-hungry glee. Elena waved it off, forcing a laugh. Just the campaign. He's impressed. Impressed, yeah, that was one word for it. Inside, turmoil churned, excitement tangled with guilt, like silk sheets twisted in the night. That evening, the office thinned out, fluorescent lights buzzing like judgmental whispers. Elena stayed late, tweaking slides, but really she was stalling, hoping, dreading Richard might appear. He did, around 8 p.m., loosening his tie, a bottle of red in hand. "Burning the midnight oil?" he asked, slipping into the chair across from her, pouring 2 glasses without asking. The city lights twinkled outside like distant stars, casting soft shadows over his face, softening the hard lines of authority. They talked, easy at first, about the firm's cutthroat mergers, the pressure of board expectations, but wine loosened tongues, and soon it veered personal. "Marriage," he said, swirling his glass, "it's a contract more than a romance sometimes. Lisa and I, we're partners in the empire, but the spark faded years ago." His blue eyes met hers, vulnerable for the first time, and Elena's heart twisted. He gets it, she thought, the emptiness. She confessed bits. Mark's leaving, the ache of empty evenings, skirting the pregnancy like a landmine. "You're stronger than you know," he murmured, hand covering hers, thumb tracing circles that sent shivers up her arm. The touch ignited again, slower this time, deliberate. She stood, rounding the desk, and he pulled her onto his lap, her skirt hiking up as their mouths met, deeper, more urgent than before. His hands roamed, respectful yet bold, mapping her like territory he claimed. "Tell me to stop," he breathed against her neck, but she arched into him instead, whispering, "Don't." Clothes shifted, breaths mingled in the quiet office, the world outside forgotten in a haze of need. It was quick, intense, a release she hadn't known she craved, leaving her trembling in his arms. Afterwards, tangled and spent, reality crept back. He kissed her forehead, soft. "This, us, it could be something." Elena nodded, but doubt not. Something built on lies? As she gathered her things, his phone lit up again. Texts from Lisa, home waiting. He silenced it, but the interruption hung heavy. "We'll figure it out," he promised, walking her to the elevator. Doors closing, she leaned against the wall, hand on her belly. What if he finds out? The descent felt like falling, and just as the doors parted to the lobby, her phone vibrated, a text from an unknown number. "I know what you were hiding. We need to talk." Heart slamming, she stared at the screen. Who could it be? Mornings blurred into a dangerous rhythm after that night. Elena arrived early, coffee in hand, but her reflection in the lobby mirrors showed a woman on fire, eyes brighter, lips fuller from stolen moments. "This is madness," she admitted inwardly, spritzing perfume to mask the faint scent of Richard's cologne clinging to her skin. The pregnancy tested her limits now. Queasy spells in the bathroom, a doctor's appointment looming she couldn't cancel. Mark still radio silent, but she'd glimpsed his profile on social media, partying, carefree, fueling a bitter resolve. I don't need him. But do I need this? The baby kicked faintly, a reminder she couldn't ignore. In the break room, Janie cornered her again, steam rising from fresh brews. "You look glowy. Spill the TL?" Elena deflected with a grin. "Just nailing deadlines." But Janie's squint said she wasn't buying it. Whispers had started. Glances in hallways, Richard's meetings running long with Elena's name on the agenda. Power dynamics shifted subtly. He greenlit her ideas faster, lingered in her doorway with excuses that fooled no one. One rainy afternoon, thunder rumbling like her doubts, Richard called her to his office. The storm lashed the windows, gray light filtering in, turning the space intimate, almost cozy. He locked the door, click, echoing, and pulled her close, hands firm on her waist. "Missed you," he growled. kissing her with a hunger that stole her breath. They tumbled onto the leather couch, rain pattering a frantic soundtrack as clothes peeled away. His touch was reverent, exploring her body like a map to treasure, murmuring praises that made her feel seen, desired, not just the exec, but the woman aching beneath. "You're incredible," he said, voice husky, as she guided him, losing herself in the rhythm, the connection that drowned out her secrets. Peak hit like lightning, shudders, gasps, a shared cry muffled against his shoulder. Lying there after, sweat slicked and sated, Alina traced his chest, heart full, yet fracturing. "Tell him," her conscience urged, "about the baby, about everything." But fear clamped down. Rejection, scandal, the empire crumbling. Instead, she whispered, "What are we doing, Richard? This can't stay hidden forever." He propped on an elbow, blue eyes intense. "It doesn't have to. Leave Lisa. I'll handle the fallout. We build something real. You, me, a future." The words thrilled, terrified. A future? With boardroom eyes watching, her swelling secret ticking like a bomb? As they dressed, laughter lightening the air, he checked his phone and froze. A photo. Them, entwined on the couch? Snapped from the window reflection? No, the angle was inside. His face paled. Someone knows. Alina's blood ran cold, snatching the device. The message attached. "End it or everyone sees." Anonymous. Vicious. Her mind raced. Janie? A rival exec? Or worse, tied to that text from nights ago? "We fight this," Richard said, pulling her into a fierce hug. But as she left, heels clicking down the hall, nausea hit hard. Not just morning sickness, but dread. In the elevator, alone, tears pricked her eyes. The doors opened to the lobby, and there, waiting in the shadows, was a figure she never expected. Mark, eyes dark with fury, clutching a manila envelope. "We need to talk, now." Mark's grip on her arm was iron as he steered her into the dimly lit coffee shop across the street, rain still drizzling outside like tears unshed. At 40, he looked haggard, stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes bloodshot from whatever escape he'd chased. Elena yanked free, sliding into a booth, heart hammering. How? Why now? The envelope slapped the table, photos spilling out. Her and Richard, blurred but unmistakable. Kisses in the parking garage, his hand on her thigh. "You think I wouldn't find out," Mark hissed, voice low, venomous. "While I'm gone picking up our pieces, you're screwing the boss?" She recoiled, stomach churning. Not from the baby, but betrayal's sting. "Our pieces? You left them shattered." "It's not what you think," she lied, voice steady despite the quake inside. Inner storm raged, anger at his hypocrisy, guilt for the lies piling up. Mark leaned in, breath sour with regret. "Bullshit. I came back for you, Elle, to fix us. But this and..." His gaze dropped to her midsection, sharpening. "You're pregnant? With his?" Denial burned her tongue, but truth clawed out. "No, yours, from before you bailed." The words hung, a grenade lobbed. His face crumpled, shock, then raw pain. "Why didn't you say? I thought, God, Elle." They sat in heavy silence, rain tapping the window like impatient fingers. Mark's hand reached for hers, tentative. I was scared, okay? Your drive, the late nights. It felt like I was losing you. But I never stopped loving you." Tears welled in her eyes, memories flooding, lazy Sundays, his laugh in her ear. Was that love real or just habit? She pulled away gently. "It's complicated now. Things happened after you left." Across town, Richard paced his office, phone glued to his ear, barking at IT to trace the leak. Fury boiled in his veins. Protecting Elena felt primal, a shift from boardroom tactics to something fiercer. She's mine now, he thought, ignoring the hypocrisy of his own ring. Lisa had confronted him that morning, suspicions sharp. Who's she rich? Don't lie. He'd deflected, but cracks showed. By evening, he texted Elena, "Dinner, my place. We plan our next move." Anticipation thrummed, visions of her in his bed, away from prying eyes. She arrived at his upscale apartment, city skyline glittering through balcony doors, soft jazz humming low.
Richard greeted her with wine, hers sparkling water, unnoticed, and pulled her into an embrace that melted defenses. Mark? He prompted later, over steak and secrets, as they lounged on the couch, her head on his shoulder. Elena confessed the confrontation, the photos, her pregnancy, words tumbling like a dam break. His jaw tightened, but he cupped her face, tender. That changes nothing. We'll weather it, together. Relief flooded her, followed by passion's pull. They made love slowly, deliberately, his hands worshipping her curves, her sighs filling the room, bodies sinking in a dance of vulnerability. I love you, he murmured in the afterglow, the words slipping, unbidden, true. But dawn brought clarity's knife. Elena woke to her phone buzzing, Lisa's voicemail tear-choked. I'm leaving and I know everything. Heart sinking, she slipped out, cab ride home a blur. At her door, another envelope waited, slid under. More photos plus ultrasound printouts, stolen from her doctor's office? Panic surged. Mark? Or the anonymous stalker? She dialed Richard, voice breaking. It's worse than we thought. His reply was cut short by a knock at her door, insistent, ominous. Peering through the peephole, she froze. Not Mark, not Richard, but Jamie, eyes wild, clutching a USB drive. Elena, you have to hear this. Jamie's hands trembled as she plugged the USB into Elena's laptop, the screen flickering to life in the dim morning light filtering through sheer curtains. The apartment smelled of stale coffee and unspoken fears. Elena's sanctuary, now a cage. I found it on my desk, Jamie whispered, pixie cut disheveled, face pale. Anonymous, but listen. Audio crackled. Richard's voice, mid-call, plotting the leak himself, framing a rival exec to boost Elena's promotion, whispers of our future laced with manipulation. Elena's world tilted, breath shallow. He used me? For what? Leverage? Inner voice screamed betrayal, mingling with the baby's flutter, a cruel anchor to reality. Across the city, Richard slammed his desk, Lisa's divorce papers fresh in his inbox, her lawyer's note curt, adultery evidence attached, photos, timestamps, everything. Rage twisted into desperation. He'd started the leak to protect them, to clear a path, but it backfired spectacularly. Elena will understand, he told himself, dialing her. No answer. Panic clawed. Mark's text earlier, he's mine, back off. Adding fuel. He grabbed keys, speeding through traffic, mind racing with apologies, promises. Elena confronted Jamie, voice edged. You knew? Jamie shook her head, tears spilling. No, but I saw things. Files moved, your calendar hacked. I thought it was corporate espionage. Relief mixed with fury. Jamie was innocent, a pawn like her. Help me end this, Elena said, resolve hardening. They pieced it. Richard's access, his motive, ambition masked as love. I fell for the illusion, she thought, hand on her belly. But this child? Real. Mine to protect. Mark called then, voice cracking. Elle, I saw the pics. It's over for good. But the baby, can I be there? Hesitation warred. Forgiveness a distant shore. Richard burst in unannounced, face thunderous, eyes locking on Jamie. What the hell? The room erupted, accusations flying, USB played loud. Elena faced him, green eyes steel. You orchestrated it all, for power, not us. He staggered, denial crumbling. It was for you, to give you what you deserve. Lisa's gone, the firm's mine, ours. His plea hung, raw, but Elena saw the strings now, puppeteer unmasked. Love isn't a merger, Richard. Heart-shattering, she turned away, Jamie slipping out quietly. In the fallout's hush, Mark arrived, envelope in hand, his own evidence against Richard, gathered in grief. He came to fight for you, he said softly, seeing her pain. They talked for hours, tears, truths, the baby's future a fragile bridge. No grand reunion, but a tentative peace, shadows of what was. Yet the final blow came via email, Richard's resignation, a confession video attached, for her eyes only. I destroyed us chasing a dream. Forgive me or hate me.
Either way, you're free. Elena watched, sobs racking, the man she loved reduced to a broken echo. She deleted it, blocking his number, choosing solitude's sharp edge over tainted passion. Months later, belly round, she stood in the park, autumn leaves swirling, Mark at her side, not lover, but father, friend. The affair's embers cooled to ash, but the scar? Eternal, a whisper of what powers cost. In quiet nights, she'd wonder, was it love or just the boardroom's cruel game? The wind carried no answers, only the promise of tomorrow's uncertain light.